Alright, let's bust some myths about Linux versus Windows. You've probably heard the old stereotypes, that Linux is some cryptic text-based world reserved for basement-dwelling hackers and super geniuses who speak in binary, that it's impossible to use unless you're a programmer with a PhD in computer science. And look, 20 years ago, there was a kernel of truth to that. It was a hobbyist's OS. But today, that image is completely outdated. Honestly, it's just not true anymore. The Linux of today is a different beast entirely, polished and refined by a global community over decades. Here's the real deal. Linux has come a long way from its command line roots. Modern Linux distributions, or distros as they're called, are incredibly user-friendly. Think of a distro as a complete package. The Linux core, a desktop environment, and a set of pre-installed apps all bundled together. There are hundreds to choose from, each with a different philosophy. Some of the most popular ones, like Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and Fedora, are designed specifically for newcomers. The installation process is often simpler than Windows. You create a live USB, which lets you try the entire operating system on your computer without installing anything. If you like it, a graphical installer walks you through a simple point-and-click setup. And once you're in, the interface is immediately familiar. You'll find your desktop, your icons, a taskbar or dock, and an application menu that works just like a start menu. You launch apps, browse files, and connect to Wi-Fi just like you always have. It's designed for everyday people to get their work done. Okay, but what about software? This is the big one. People say, but Windows runs everything. I can't use Linux because I need my apps. And it's true. If your job depends on a very specific piece of Windows-only software, like the full Adobe Creative Suite, you might need to stick with Windows. But for the vast majority of users, you'll find powerful and often free alternatives for everything you do. Instead of Microsoft Office, you have LibreOffice, which is fully compatible with Word and Excel files. Instead of Photoshop, there's GIMP. For video editing, DaVinci Resolve has a native Linux version. And Kdenlive is a fantastic open-source option. And let's talk about the final frontier, gaming. For years, this was Linux's Achilles heel. Not anymore. Thanks to Valve, the company behind Steam, a technology called Proton allows you to play a massive number of Windows games on Linux, often with just a single click. The performance can be just as good, and sometimes even better than on Windows. Thousands of titles, from indie darlings to AAA blockbusters, are now perfectly playable. The gaming gap has been all but closed. Now let's talk about security. Worried about viruses, malware, and ransomware? The fundamental architecture of Linux makes it vastly more secure than Windows. Malicious programs can't easily gain system-wide control. While no OS is moments. On Linux, you are in complete control. You decide when and if to update. The process is quick and seamless. Plus, Linux distributions don't come packed with bloatware, unwanted trial software, and advertisements that clog up your system from day one. You start with a clean, fast slate. And if you love making your computer truly, Linux is an absolute playground. On Windows, you can change your wallpaper. On Linux, you can change. Don't like the desktop layout? Swap out the entire desktop environment. You can change themes, icons, fonts, and even how your windows behave. It's your system, your rules. Here's the real kicker, especially in a world of disposable tech. Linux is incredibly efficient. It runs beautifully on brand new machines, but it also breathes new life into older hardware. Got a laptop from 5 or even 10 years ago that struggles to even run Windows? Don't throw it away. Install a lightweight Linux distro like Lubuntu or Zorin OS Lite and watch it fly. It will be faster, more responsive, and more secure than it ever was. But what if you run into a problem? With Windows, you might be stuck on a support line. With Linux, you have something better. A massive, passionate global community. From dedicated forums and extensive documentation to helpful subreddits, there are millions of users ready to help you solve any problem, big or small. So the next time someone tells you that Linux is too complicated, that it can't run software, or that Windows is the only real choice, you'll know the truth. Those are just outdated myths. The reality is a modern, secure, and flexible operating system that respects your freedom and puts you in control. If you're even a little bit curious, give it a try. You have nothing to lose and a whole world of freedom to gain.